anyway, everyone's loading in, so I'll just do a formal introduction. So hey everyone, welcome back to G League. As always, I'm Basekip. This is going to be another match for our Group A as part of the group stages. So this is going to be LGD China, who are going to be over on the Radiant side up against LGD International, and two teams that should have had a lot of experience sort of scrimming against one another already. So we might see some slightly more interesting picks, some slightly more informed drafting perhaps, and then even on top of that some slightly more informed play. So we'll see how this works out. As always, I'm not the only one streaming this, so make sure that you do, well, you can check out Toby, who's over the JoinDota stream, or you can check out LD, who I believe is streaming over on Beyond the Summit. So anyway, getting underway with the game, and well, no hesitation from either LGD so far. It was TA to start us off, and then Batrider the immediate response for the international side. And I guess I'll have to figure out some convenient way to distinguish between the two of them here. Lone Druid's going to be the ban for, well, how about we'll call the Chinese team LGD, and then we'll call LGD.int or something like that. Maybe that'll work out. Sven is going to be the ban. Magnus makes it through, and I guess LGD.int not afraid of it, or have something up their sleeve to deal with it. Nyx is going to be picked up here. More than likely going to be seeing him played in a supportive role. Great on aggressive tri-lanes, great on defensive tri-lanes as well. In defensive tri-lane, the mana burn is fantastic for shutting down heroes like the Darkseer, the Bounty Hunter, or the Windrunner, especially the Windrunner and the Darkseer, since they do both rely heavily on having that mana to both be able to farm and to escape, and by reducing their mana, obviously you only leave them with their escaping mana left, which leaves them significantly underfarmed at the end of the phase. And Undying is going to be the pickup here as well, a hero that works well on a defensive tri-lane, but is even better on an aggressive tri-lane. So that might be what we see here from LGD.int. And if they're going that way, they need to look to pick up a ranged support, and then a mid, and somebody who can solo their safe lane. Bounty Hunter actually remains in the pool after this first phase of drafting, so LGD could opt to pick him up. He'd more than likely be run on the off lane. Not a whole lot that he can do against an aggressive tri-lane. Does fairly well against a defensive tri-lane though. Probably the best offlaner in the game at the moment. And LGD, what are they going to choose to try and combo with the Magnus? The obvious choice, the Sven, has been banned out. Interesting to see that neither team has actually considered the Wisp just yet. Perhaps not as popular in the Asian scene as he has been sort of in the CIS scene of late. We saw a lot of play from Empire and Na'Vi with the Wisp. And LGD, what are they thinking? If they want to try and pick up some good defensive tri-lane heroes right now to try and go head-on tri-lane versus tri-lane against LGD.int, then they could opt to pick up something like the Keeper of the Light. The Nyx is not a bad hero to have in your defensive tri-lane either, since he's quite hardy as far as carries go. Shadow Demon as well probably deserves a mention in terms of that defensive tri-lane. There's no clear indication of whatever team's solos might be, so if they go offensive tri-lane against solo up against defensive tri-lane against solo, it might just come down to pushing. So that might be a direction that LGD could take it, but they're actually going to opt to pick up the Rubik and the Brewmaster here. I guess the Rubik covering the Brewmaster's tracks a little bit, making sure that we're not going to see that Brewmaster ultimate turned around on them. And Rubik not a bad support in his own right. We could see some cheesy stuff with pulling that large camp towards mid, things like that. And not 100% sure where we'll see this Brewmaster laned, but it could be the beginnings of a tri-lane for LGD as well. Might see the Brewmaster down on that safe lane, or perhaps up on top again, leading the farm in that aggressive tri-lane. Though, again, Nyx and Undying, two of the best tri-lane heroes you could ever wish for. So LGD.int, we'll see what they do. If they opt to keep the Undying as the primary farmer, so they effectively pick up 3 supports, then they're more than likely going to look to go aggressive, because going defensive on that lane would be a bit of a waste. So they're going to pick up the Shadow Demon. They grab one of those fantastic supports that I was mentioning as a possibility for LGD if they were looking to run a defensive tri-lane. So it looks like Undying is going to be getting quite a bit of farm. It could be the Nyx as well, getting the majority of the last hits, getting fast Arcane Boots up on someone. And yeah, so it looks like LGD.int going to be running an aggressive tri-lane here. Shadow Demon, Nyx, Undying, it's a great combo. LGD China do need to try and pick something else up if they're going to be running that defensive tri lane down on bot. Going to have a bit of a hell of a time. Though the Radiant safe lane is quite safe just in terms of the terrain and always having those two potential paths to sort of juke down into. They could opt for the Keeper of the Light. Offers them some good damage, and the Rubik and the Brewmaster, good combination of damage and CC. The Brewmaster quite naturally tanky as well. And we will see if they choose to run a defensive tri lane against what LGD currently have, or they could just try and run an aggressive tri lane of their own, see if LGD.int reacts to that and send 3 heroes up towards the top lane. LGD.int could do something a little bit strange and run the Undying solo on the off lane and then pick into a carry later on into the draft. But carry ban's quite safe for now for both teams. We're actually going to see the Night Stalker banned out, a hero that I've wanted to see more of. He has been quite popular in the Asian scene, not so much in the Western scene of late. Don't think we've seen much Night Stalker at all, but exciting to see him banned. Maybe we'll see him played later on. Anti-Mage is going to be the ban here. Not a bad solo lane carry. I guess other heroes worth mentioning and sort of that have been popular of late. There is the Weaver. I want to see more Viper, though I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing him, especially with no big right clickers right now over on LGD.int, who are really reliant on having a BKB and things like that to deal damage. And LGD, how are they going to round this off? They chose to ban out the Darkseer, in fact, so that's actually a little bit strange. DS could be run mid against the Magnus. We haven't actually been seeing traditional mids lately. I mean, it's been duo lanes and Darkseers and Magnus and heroes that we're sort of used to seeing on other lanes. The Chen ban, perhaps a little bit strange, but I guess LGD perhaps calling that LGD could just send the Undying to solo the off lane. And then just pick up a hard carry later on, see if they've drafted LGD into a bad position, and really heavy bans on the hard carries right now by the international side. So what sort of position are both teams in? I mean, the problem for LGD, Magnus pretty much has to be mid. They could run him on their safe lane and then put Brewmaster mid, but it's going to be a similar matchup for them. Regardless, it just depends on who they're looking to get the Blink Dagger up faster, who they're looking to be sort of that primary initiator. They've got really good team fight at the moment, and the Rubik, there's a plethora of spells right now that he's going to enjoy stealing over on the Dire side. And LGD probably just need to look to pick up some more range. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Keeper of the Light if they're looking to run a defensive tri lane. If they're going to be trying to shut down whoever is on LGD's safe lane, perhaps solo, then they could go for something a little bit more aggressive, though. It's actually going to be the Luna here. So not actually sure what to make of this. I mean, Magnus, Brewmaster, and Luna are all going to need farm. The Luna does help out the Rubik in terms of forming up a defensive tri lane, so it might be Magnus actually heading up towards that off lane, realizing that perhaps LGD.int are going to be running that aggressive tri lane down on bot and that they need to try and deal with that. Wouldn't be surprised again to see the Keeper of the Light last pick, but it leaves them running a little bit light on the disable, though they do have the Rubik, the Magnus, and the Brewmaster ulti to try and help out with that at least a little bit. So LGD.int looking for a mid right now, perhaps for a solo laner. It's going to be the Enchantress, so even more early game aggression for them. And we'll see how this works out. I mean, what are their lanes going to be? They might even just run the Nyx mid. It's all a little bit weird at the moment. 4 effectively support heroes, so the Undying and the Nyx can afford to get more farm. I mean, we could even see something like a solo mid Shadow Demon. I think it's a role that Ice Frog is sort of trying to push him towards again, with a few buffs on the Shadow Poison. And perhaps not happy with him sort of sitting down in the supportive role, though that Soul Catcher is just absolutely so powerful, and he doesn't really need to have the damage himself. But yeah, LGD.int, it's a really early game lineup for them. If the Enchantress falls behind, if she doesn't find those early kills, then they could be in a bad spot. And Undying as well, up against the Luna. that aura is going to be a big help in bringing down the tombstone, so needing to make as much use of that as they possibly can before the right click sort of catches up. So LGD.int for them right now, they need to get on top and they need to stay on top. They're going to need that farm advantage to make sure that they're not bursted down. I mean, we've seen the Lina as the last pickup here. The Undying is pretty well countered by burst damage, really relying on staying alive in those fights. And a similar story for the Enchantress. She's got her heal, but really, really low base HP pool, and among, well, I think actually the lowest strength gain in the game. So I really like this Lina pickup. The really spammable Laguna Blade now is going to be a big help against LGD's lineup. And even better, well, worth mentioning, is that if there's a defensive disruption from the Shadow Demon, it's quite easy to line up the Light Strike Array on top. So that defensive power there from the Shadow Demon slightly reduced by the Lina pickup. So in terms of lanes, what we're going to be seeing, Rubik, Luna plus Lina. They've got two 600 range heroes benefiting from that aura. So they've actually put themselves in quite a good position if LGD.int are looking to run that aggressive tri-lane down on bot. They could go for something really weird and put 4 heroes in that lane until they get the tier 1. So have the Enchantress running out of the aggressive jungle, and then the 3 heroes in lane get the early Bassi up. And before the Brewmaster or the Magnus can really help out at all, try and get that tower down for the early gold, put the pressure on that way. Though LGD could just opt to ward up their own hard camps and make it extremely difficult for the Enchantress to have any impact. So LGD, what's it going to be? Maybe something like a Juggernaut pickup. He is a fairly good pushing carry. Gives them some much needed right click perhaps. They are fairly spell reliant at the moment, though the Undying can be a bit of a right clicker in his own right in those early levels, and it's actually going to be the Clinks here. So not sure how these lanes are going to be working out, but anyway, getting into the game over on LGD International. And for some reason my camera settings aren't quite right, so I'll just fix that up. So anyway, over on LGD International, we've got Pycat playing the Clinks. It's going to be G or God on the Nyx. Misery is going to be playing this Enchantress. 1437 is going to be on the Shadow Demon, and that leaves Brax to play the Undying. So it looks like it's just going to be Nyx heading towards mid. So I guess what we're more used to seeing, sort of used to seeing from that hero in a more pub role. Over on LGD China, we've got Zhao 8 playing the Brewmaster. We've got Yao playing the Magnus. We've got SC playing the Lina. We've got DDC playing the Rubik. SC also known as DD, but I guess for the sake of clarity, playing under SC for now. And Sylar is going to be playing the Luna in this game. So we've got aggressive tri-lane heading down right now for LGD.int. The Nyx is heading towards mid, so the Enchantress going to be trying to do what she can out of the jungle. We've got a very defensive lane ward down right now for LGD China. That is very unlikely to be dewarded since it is so far away from sort of the traditional spot over here. So nice little play there. Just in terms of starting items, do we have an early Bazzi pickup for LGD.int? Doesn't look like it. They've got quite a few wards and a good bit of regen up their sleeve as well. Over on the defensive tri-lane, we are going to have probably a Bazzi picked up by Sylar there, and then just a similar story, more wards and regen. Up on top, that's going to be our Zim and Urn. So Pycat able to pick that one up, and the Clink's probably going to be getting the better of this lane against the Magnus up on top, though he is getting harassed down a little bit right now, and did opt for the Skeleton Walk with that first point. So it's going to continue to be harassed here, trying to turn around, but he's just so low. Yao going to be happy to trade a few blows with him there. So wards go down to start. We did see some sentries for both sides, and I guess LGD.int just making sure that that hard camp isn't going to be blocked off. Going to make sure that the Enchantress at least gets something. Sentry ward down right now, doesn't spot anything out just yet, and DDC and Brax just trading a few hits back and forth there. Our mid matchup is going to be the Brewmaster up against G, who's opted for the first point in the mana burn. So while the Brewmaster is quite tanky and the kill potential might not be there, he's never really going to have the mana for any turnarounds on the Nyx. So both heroes should get fairly good farm, but if there's any kill potential, it's probably on the Nyx as opposed to the Brewmaster. For now, we've already got some pulls running for LGD, and no wards attempted at all from LGD.int. Misery is actually going to head over into the Dire jungle to start, maybe just get a few levels up there. So just leaving a duo lane down on bot for now, and they are being out-pulled, going to be out-leveled fairly quickly. Brax trying to interrupt the pull for now, but Yeah, we actually had a successful D ward from LGD.int. Interesting to see that. I guess they've scrimmed enough against LGD China to be able to spot that one out. We've got a telekinesis going back onto Brax. The light strike array does connect as well. Maybe a little bit early there, but just making sure that they got it. So for now, for sight down on bot, we've got one observer and a second one here. Both teams do have sight of the rune, but LGD China don't have any sight of any movements through or any TPs coming into the lane for LGD.int. So they've got a minor advantage in that regard. Though DDC still does have one sentry for now, so we might see the OBS, though this OBS dewarded at some point. And the 2-minute rune, double damage for G on mid. Unfortunately, his bottle wasn't quite there just yet, but now it dropped off. And Zhao8 also has his bottle for now. And actually leading in terms of the last hits right now on that mid lane. He's up to 11 for 2 compared to only 5 for 2 on the Nyx right now. Up on top, we've got another bottle running for Yao as well, just to make sure that he doesn't get harassed down by Pycat. So it's effectively 2-on-2 for now for LGD.int. I mean, Magnus is going to be getting some fantastic levels, already up to level 4, and if we just have a quick look at the last hits and denies, LGD China out farming for now, though the Enchantress is keeping things relatively level, I would expect, in terms of the XP and the gold, but both actually heavily out in favor of LGD, the Chinese side right now. And down on bot, Undying and Shadow Demon just not finding all that much with all of these pulls running for LGD, and not missing a single one, pulling through from this camp into the other one every single time. We've got a double smoke creep coming through. The tombstone is down as well. SC might be in a little trouble. The zombies now building up. They've got a loosened beam, but looks like this is going to be our first blood picked up there by Brax. The Enchantress creeps coming in maybe just a little bit too late to try and find anything else, but first blood is going to be drawn by the international side here. Quick check-in up on top. Pycat's up for 15 for 1. Yao actually 20 for 4, and again, leading the farm up in this top lane for now. And now up to level 5 as well. These heroes down in the tri lane could be at risk from a TP from him sort of at any time. And a similar story on mid. Brewmaster finding fantastic levels again, while G can just burn away his mana. Not a whole lot that he can do to stop the farm. And Zhao just outlast hitting for now. I mean, G all the way down at 11 for 7 at the moment. So, Brewmaster winning that lane handily, and will spot out the 4-minute rune as well. They do both have sight down on bot. Actually, no, they don't, so I guess that was a lucky guess for Zhao8 there. And we've now got Misery moving over into the Radiant jungle, so looking to make some action happen. Sylar still lasting quite well down on bot, actually up to 24 for 9. So again, barely shut down at all, hardly feeling the pressure from this duo lane, and Enchantress is going to have to make things happen. Gonna get the troll trap down here. 147 lifts it up into the air, now stunned up. He's going to be immediately nuked down. Not sure if LGD have the damage, or LGD.int have the damage to try and finish anyone off. SC retreating, but it's only the one zombie. There goes the loosened beam. Braxton do what he can, gets the 2-man decay, but the nuke turns around from SC, and another kill picked up by the Chinese side down on bot. Just a fantastic turnaround there. Great awareness, bursting down 1437 before he could even get anything off. And they're just in a fantastic position down on this bottom lane right now. The Undying just doesn't really have all that many points in the tombstone for it to be all that threatening. And the again, the Lunar Aura is already catching up with it. The right click from these 3 almost full ranged heroes, bar the Luna, is going to be bringing those low ranks of tombstone down extremely quickly. On mid, the Brewmaster is dropping low, so G is hitting his dominance a little bit on this mid lane. Doesn't have all that much mana, however, to try and get the full combo off to kill him, so Brewmaster, good awareness from him, just going to be hanging out in the lane for now. Misery finds the Centaur. Again, he's really reliant on just finding good creeps to try and make things happen. Now heading around behind on mid. Brewmaster backs off for now. So the pressure is there. He finds a troll as well, so a little bit lucky there. And we've got fresh sight up for, well, the Chinese side right now. So spotting out any TPs, spotting out anyone hiding over here, and spotting any movements whatsoever for Misery. Again, they do have great positions to just hide in through, since they are on that Radiant safe lane at the moment. And everything's sort of working out for now. Pycat in trouble up top, and the nuke is actually going to connect. Yao finding that kill. Did pop the reverse polarity, but just so much damage potential on this Magnus once he reaches level, was up to level 7 at that point, had 4 ranks up in the nuke. G's gonna come down bot. Was this movement spotted? Has the Vendetta up, now looking for blood. LGD again can just, LGD China can just retreat back to the trees. They pop down a center ward. G is inside of that. Just defensive posturing for now. Here comes the dive from the international side. Is there going to be any TP support coming in? Here's one TP, and G already being bursted down, forced to pop the Carapace. We've got 1 kill. The Rubik is already being killed off. Misery trying to do what he can. Is he going to die to that tower? Yes, he is, and Sylar now, well, now chasing off LGD.int. Yao comes in from the rear. 1437's in trouble. He does have some boots up, and there is no reverse polarity. It's going to be Brewmaster looking for the stomp right now. Can he find it just on the edge? It's a big tower dive at the moment, and 1437 forced to just juke through those trees, and Brewmaster keeping the pace. So in the end, it's going to be, well, as the dust settles, 4 kills the lead right now for the Chinese side. I mean, LGD.int, they had the early game sort of aggressive lineup, but just couldn't find any picks from the Enchantress, and just so difficult to break the Radiant safe lane. And great awareness with the sentry ward down. I mean, G just couldn't find the burst damage with that gank. Has a smoke picked up now, so Vendetta is off cooldown. It's a fairly low cooldown. Going to be looking for picks quite soon, but Misery dying to the tower as well, just trying to get off to the side down on bot. A little bit unfortunate play for him. Brewmaster perhaps in a little bit of trouble. Spark Carapace pops off. The stomp is going to be there, but perfectly timed. None of that reflected, and G now bottling up. Zhao does have a few regen items left. 147 moving into position. Actually has 2 points up in the Shadow Poison as opposed to more points in the Soul Catcher in this case. So a little bit unusual to see that. I guess really needs to connect the Shadow Poison to make this worthwhile. And big skewer away from Yao, in absolutely no trouble from this gank up on top. So looks like LGD.int might just try and go for a tower, try and force some TPs perhaps from the Chinese side. Yao completely out of mana, but the Crow is at clarity and going to be swapping the bottle off as well there. The DC just moving down towards bot. Sylar still finding fantastic farm. Brax is just down here to try and get XP, but LGD.int just not sure of their footing at the moment. We've got a haste run right now for G, heading up towards the top lane, and got into Vendetta before he got into that site, but yeah, perfect awareness for him. Just going to back off to the tier 2 and let the tier 1 take a fall. Not the worst thing in the world. Down on bot, Brax does actually take a fall to the defensive tri lane, and Chinese side looking to even things up in terms of the tower. The fortification does pop, but the right click probably just way too much, and LGD just don't have anything to dedicate to try and defend at the moment. I mean, again, Brax, he's actually opting to max out Decay here as opposed to investing more points in the Tombstone. We do sometimes see Undyings up against this Luna-based tri-lane with 2 ranged heroes completely ignore the Tombstone and just go for the Soul Rip and the Decay, but they didn't have a true tri-lane to start. He's going to throw down the Tombstone for now, but those 3 heroes are just going to move straight into position. There's no Soul Rip to help keep it live, so it's just another 90 gold there for Sylar. Brax trying to do whatever he can to slow things down, and we do have a bit of a movement perhaps right now from LGD.int, but Misery just not all that much he can do. Doesn't have the impetus up just yet. Unfortunate deaths, and now it's going to be a telekinesis back into the stun. Dragon Slave flies through, and DDC picking up that kill with the Fade Bolt. And LGD, I guess LGD China, not just going to say LGD, looking fantastic at the moment. Pycat's finding some okay farm, but he still does have 1 death to his name. And G spots out an Invis rune there, heading up towards top, but Yao is just playing so defensive. Great awareness of which heroes are on the map at the moment. Misery not quite up to level 6. Again, that impetus damage could be a big help. 1437 dropping low on bot. Almost right click down. Just saved there by the stick charges. 5 HP for him. And yeah, all in all, it's not really looking good for LGD. They don't have any big defensive team fight to fall back on. The Undying is already becoming, as we saw, less and less relevant. The Tombstone is just being right clicked down. Absolutely no problem. And on mid, I mean, we've got the Brewmaster ultimate now picked up. We haven't seen that used just yet, and the reverse polarity as well available for Yao right now. He's actually now heading towards a mech with that Buckley picked up. Pycat, fairly standard item build for him, just going towards that Orchid right now. Misery, not a whole lot of farm, just looking for an urn. And again, LGD.int, their goal was to get on top early and then stay on top. We're going to have a telekinesis back. Brax is going to be able to get the will get the tombstone down, the Laguna Blade down, one more right click from Sarlar, grabbing up that kill, and LGD.int just being picked apart at the seams right now. So Zhao heads toward mid. It's just a blink dagger rush for him, fairly standard on the Brewmaster. G's managed to pick up some mana boots. He still has that smoke, but there's just no obvious lane for him to gank right now. I mean, looking at the net worth, Pycat is leading for now, but hasn't been able to be aggressive around the map, and I think he's going to find a similar response to what G is getting at the moment, just not able to find the pickoffs. Great awareness from LGD China in terms of his positioning on the map at all times. And I mean, just look at the warding right now from LGD, and they're playing scared. They've got defensive wards up, making sure that LGD China don't make tracks into their territory. And at this point in the game, 12 minutes in, with the heroes that they have, you'd expect to see aggressive wards, more towers down, finding those pickoffs, but for now it's not the case, and I guess all of their hopes and dreams right now do rest on Pycat, who is farming up well, but I mean, Brewmaster's finishing up his Blink Dagger at the moment. We haven't seen the full force of the Chinese side's team fight at the moment, and boy do they have a lot of it. I mean, they've got the Brewmaster ultimate, they've got the Eclipse, they've got a whole bunch of spell spam from Delena, and then not to mention the reverse polarity. What was stolen there by Rubik as he backs off? It's actually a rank 4 Impale. Going to be extremely happy with that. And now moving down towards bot. Salah getting harassed a little bit, but trading blows as well with that loosened beam. We've got SC off to the side. He's not in sight for now. Misery does now have that impetus up and throws down a ward, spots him out there. There's a tower falling on mid. LGD China able to pick that one up, and we've got 5 heroes converging down on bot. Disruption trying to buy the international side some time to get out, but yeah, with that haste is already in position. Down goes the tombstone. Yeah, looking for positioning, is going to spot out Brax. The skewer comes back through to cancel off that TP, and good awareness there. So in the end, it's only 1 kill and the gold from the tombstone picked up. Pycat just right-clicking away up on top. Still not quite up to that Orchid. That one death has really set him back in terms of that timing. And looks like the Chinese side can be able to pick up this tower down on bot. Absolutely no problem. Nukes flying through. Misery just so soft on that Enchantress. If there's a Laguna Blade up, I think that might be enough damage to kill him. 450. Less resistance. Not quite, but with the Fade Bolt on top, might be enough. Nukes just flying through, and I mean, LGD.int just never at full HP to try and take these engagements head on. The poke is just so annoying. I'm not going to use the word poke, but the harassment is just so annoying. And smoking right under a sentry ward right now to make sure that there is no sight. They really need to try and connect this one. But LGD China happy to respond and just say we're going to play some 5-man Dota for now. Ogre Club's actually going to be the first pickup for the Brewmaster here. Normally we would expect to see a point booster or perhaps the Mystic Staff, Staff of Wizardry, sorry, instead to try and fuel his spells a little bit more, but realizing that the pick-off damage is potentially there. The smoke gank will connect mid, picking off Sylar as the smoke comes through from LGD China, so sorry about missing that kill, guys. I guess stuck in my own little world. Here comes the blink forward. Brax is in big trouble. Is the stun going to connect? I don't think they even need it. There's the Laguna Blade. And Zhao able to pick up that kill. More mana boot spam flies off. These supports are just so rich at the moment over on the Chinese side. So 1 kill going either way, but LGD China still lead by 8 at the moment. XP swinging back a little bit for now since Sylar was so farmed when he died. A lot of XP going the way of the international side. Pycat has his Orchid finished up now, so hiding around in the Skeleton Walk, looking for some pickoffs. But again, LGD China, perfect reaction from them. They're just staying grouped up as 5. They've still got huge team fight. They can probably take LGD International in a head-to-head fight. So long as they don't split up whatsoever, they're in a great spot. And there's still a tier 1 for them to man down up on top as well. So probably heading that way right now. And again, I just don't think that LGD.int can break up this really clustered 5-man push that they've got going at the moment. They don't even have anything really to punish the clustering. No AoE stuns, anything like that. So LGD China just going to be happy for now to push as this Death Ball. Moving up towards top. LGD, I guess, well, LGD.int realizing that they're weaker, that they can't take the head-on team fight, going to try and find some trades, looking for the tier 1 towards mid. It is a very valuable tower for the Radiant side, and we're actually going to see those TPs forced out at the moment. We've got the blink forward, connect on Pycat, but support just a little bit further away. Zhao now purged up. Is there going to be the silence? Not committed there from Pycat, and it's actually going to be the ultimate here from the Brewmaster. They do manage to force that one out, and LGD.int on their retreat, but they committed the tombstone, so I guess a little bit of a miscommunication there. I mean, what it looked like is they were trying to force the Brewmaster ultimate with the Purge, threatening the silence. It wasn't used. So in the end, the Brewmaster ultimate pops with the tombstone drop, so it looks like Brax wanted to take that engagement. Up on top, LGD.int trying to hold on to their tier 1. They did force the TPs, but in the end, it's not going to be enough to deter LGD China. Heading up now, we've got TPs coming in. Looks like Brax wants to try and hold this out. The tombstone actually stolen by DDC. The Eclipse comes through. Brax in big trouble. He's now killed off. Pycat too low to do anything. There's the disruption. 147 trying to do what he can. Is now killed off. 3 dead over on LGD.int. G now the next target. Zhao moving into position. The stun's not going to connect with the skewer through. Picks up that kill, and Pycat, all he can do is watch from the sidelines. Just nuked too low there in that fight. And LGD China, it's just looking like an unstoppable death ball for them at the moment. I mean, LGD.int, they tried to go super aggressive early, but every lane working out fantastically for the Chinese side. Going to be able to pick up this tier 2 as well. They now lead by 12 kills. I mean, XP swung back a little bit towards the Dire side, but now over 5k in favor of the Radiant. And 5k gold as well. In terms of item progression, we've already got the mech finished up for Yao, and he's almost got a blink as well for DD or SC. 1.5k gold in the bank for him, and I think the net worth speaks volumes about the state of the game right now. And Zhao getting quite close to that Ags, if that's what he's heading for. BKB finished up for Sylar. And again, it's just the early game death ball for them right now. They've got a huge amount of mid game effectiveness, especially with the rank 2 Eclipse and all of the big teamfight ultimates, which the LGD.int really lack. And they can't even put the pressure on while LGD China's ultimates are on cooldown. They're just not in a great spot at the moment. Pycat's going to try and get a little bit more farm down on bot. Sylar trying to slow him up a little bit for now. There's the silence. TPs are going to come in, and Sylar able to get the deny off there. A great little play. So again, even just more starvation for the international side right now. We saw how farmed the supports were over on the Chinese side, and 1437, just absolutely nothing for him right now. And G, I liked the mid Nyx assassin. Looks like he's actually heading towards a blink right now. Yeah, so blink's going to be picked up, trying to make a few things happen, but at the same time, Meow picks up his blink, and that reverse polarity cooldown, I mean, almost the match of the Vendetta cooldown. What's it? Down to 100 seconds at max rank, and the Vendetta significantly shorter. But again, LGD.int just aren't able to find the spaces in between these big ultimates to try and take a convincing team fight. Even with all the ultimates down, they may just not be on even footing. So we've got the stolen Brewmaster on mid. That's a little red cross. They are going to be able to pick up the tier 1, but LGD China manning up on the bot tower. We've now got a Yasha finished up for Sylar. Great farm for him, and the tier 2 falls. No problem, they're going to be fine to force TPs back. And so LGD.int finally going to have to face fact, maybe take this team fight head on. Yao comes through, gets the skewer back onto 1437, who's immediately going to be killed off before this fight can start. Does he have buyback? No, he does not. So he's on the sidelines for at least 20 seconds. And LGD China just heads straight up onto the high ground. Brax is going to try and drop that tombstone. 4 points in decay and 4 points up in the tombstone. A fairly unusual build for him. In fact, G is going to be caught out. The stun connects, all that burst damage, just way too much. SC able to pick up that kill. Was trying to come in from the side for the pickoffs, but the sentry wards are already down for LGD China. Just great awareness there. DDC picks up a kill on Misery. Just again, way too much burst damage. The Laguna Blade still in tow. No big ultimates used just yet. It's going to be 1 Rex falling. LGD China didn't pick up the tier 2 on mid just yet, so there's not an easy 2 racks, but going to be happy to back off for now. 15 kills the lead, and maybe even just look towards Roshan. They can drop back and play the lane control game for now. And just a perfect death ball from them. Nothing that LGD International can break it right now. So 10k XP the swing right now, over 10k gold as well. It's just not looking all that great. And yeah, I mean, lanes just really didn't work out for LGD.int. They only had, I mean, they had the duo lane down on bot. It's not expected to win against such a strong defensive tri-lane. On mid, G was going to get farm, but so was the Brewmaster. We've now got a Manta style finished up for Sylar. It's only 21 minutes into the game as well, though it does feel quite a bit later. I guess it's sort of the twilight right now for LGD.int. So Sylar's going to move back in position again. Big ultimates are all still off cooldown for LGD China, and Zhao actually with a BKB finished up. I guess doesn't want to have to deal with that silence whatsoever. So good choice from him, though we haven't really even seen it come into play. And he's so tanky at the moment, not sure if it would be a problem. So DDC is going to disconnect off, so we're going to have a pause to try and take stock of things. But for now, I mean, Misery down on level 8. Once you start losing as Enchantress, the game just sort of snowballs away from you. Not a whole lot that you can do. And similar story for the Undying. If he can be dominant, if he can get on top, early mech, early tank items, stay ahead of the burst damage, then he's fantastic in team fights. But for now, just not able to do all that much, and the health on the Tombstone just not nearly enough to survive against that aura from LGD China. 1437, not a whole lot of farm for him either. Interesting that he opted to max out the Shadow Poison. Actually, two fairly strange builds from LGD.int. We've got a max decay on the Undying. We would normally expect to see a few points in the Soul Rip, and sometimes seeing Undyings forego the Tombstone entirely for those early levels, especially when they're up against well, a Luna-based defensive tri-lane. The right click from the supports just hurts so much. So interesting to see that, and the the Shadow Poison build from 1437. A little bit strange as well. Looks like we're going to have an unpause in just a second right now. So Salah's going to head straight onto the tower again. I don't think that LGD.int can even try and man-fight this. We've got Misery up on top for now. He does have a TP. We've got one kill already picked up. 157 now hit by the slow as the Skewer comes through. Zhao has popped off his BKB. There's the Lucent Beam and the nukes as well. No big committal just yet, aside from that Laguna Blade, which is going to be off cooldown in just a minute. I get maybe coming in for the backstab right now, but just perfect death balling from LGD. Nobody's splitting off whatsoever. So bot lane needs to be maintained the whole time, and there's going to be the GG called. So LGD China take this game 1. Might finally see the ultimates popped here. Yeah, I guess a little bit of a victory dance for him. GG's called. Everyone on the international side is going to disconnect off. There's the Eclipse as well. Maybe the Brewmaster ultimate just to round us off for this big ultimates. No. Well, Zhao's disconnected. Maybe DDC or Sylar will pop that one. So for now, everyone's going to disconnect off. The victory should be awarded to the correct team, since everyone on the dire side has disconnected off early, and not looking promising for LGD International in this game. It is, as always, a best of 3, so they've got 2 games to try and come back. And this group is actually a little bit interesting, given that DK dropped 2 games yesterday to 4Love. So I guess a little bit less pressure on these 2 teams to try and beat one another out if they're feeling confident against FL and DK. Anyway, I've been Basekip. This is our G League coverage 2012. As always, stay tuned for more. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and hopefully the next game will be